it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet. Screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Good job to all you out there who ordained that this stream would work. It is working now. It only took 7 tries of restarting literally everything and then finally it working. So whatever, we got it and we're here. And I'm so glad to be with you as always. You guys are so awesome. I just am so appreciative of all the support. You know, you may have seen that my air conditioner just stopped working on a 90+ degree day, and it was cooler today, luckily, because I didn't have time to go get one. I'm going to go get one tomorrow. And thank you so much to those of you who donated, who sent extra tips in hopes that I could stay cool. I live in a very tiny little house with no air conditioning, and all of our shade trees are gone. 2 of them got cut down for mysterious reasons. Perhaps they needed to be, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that. That was before we got here. Those were the main shade for the house. And then there was one beautiful evergreen left, and this huge, harp-driven storm came through in December and just blew all these trees all throughout the city. You might remember me talking about us losing our tree, our beautiful tree, the best tree. I would sit in my chair and I would watch the tree because I love trees. If you know me, I talk to trees. I love trees. And that tree died and I was so sad. I went through like a grief and a depression, like I'm not joking. So that tree also can no longer provide shade for us. And so we have no shade, no air conditioner. And then this house doesn't have what anybody would call insulation either. I mean, it technically does, but it's like, no, not really. It's like the thinnest layer and it's super old. So it desperately needs all those things. And so we have these little units that we have that are like super old too. And we do our best to try to hook them up to the windows. We have to have them up on like, platforms to reach the windows because the windows weren't made to have our modern air conditioning. It's kind of a nightmare in our tiny little house. We have to roll around these machines to try to cool each area. So that broke. And I was like, oh my God, like what? Oh my God, it's already kind of a nightmare. And now this. And so, I made the humble request if anyone wanted to donate to us, helping us get this unexpected expense covered. And so many of you did. And I'm just so grateful. And thank you so much. So that's my air conditioner story. And I just want to send the gratitude out to the community who shared in, helping us get that air conditioner. So thank you very much. And thank you again to those of you who saw that this stream was having trouble starting yet again. Mysteriously, I literally was with the tech guy yesterday. If you're listening, obviously things are fine, Mr. Tech Friend. But, he was like, well, let's look and see if we can reproduce it. And no, of course, everything worked flawlessly. But for the first time in a week. And I was like, cool, maybe it's done. And then I came here tonight expecting it to just, be totally easy and work. And then, no, it was back to the same problem. So if he's looking, it won't happen. But if he's not looking, apparently it will. I really think it's more about the show and the content that I share with you than anything else. I don't think it's a tech issue, as you may well know about me, whatever you may think it is. Thank you so much, Jasmine, in the chat, both for your ordaining and the $10 tip. I really appreciate you. And if you're watching anywhere else, thank you for being here as well. Although tonight will be supporters only. So I will switch to just Rockfin for the stream. The audio will go up on Apple Podcasts for any supporters there. It will also go up on rogue.locals.com, which is this link right here. And so you can download it from there as well, just the audio. And if you're a supporter at Rockfin, of course, you can watch this and all the other exclusive content. I do a tarot reading, just did one not too long ago for the month of July. I do other things that are... It's actually been a while since I've done any episodes that are just for supporters besides Middle Path on Thursdays, but I do sometimes have interviews that are solely just for supporters, and sometimes I have half of an interview that's just for supporters. So it just kind of happens as it happens, and you supporters get just some extra perks for helping the show keep going. So I appreciate all of you, and Middle Path, of course, is all about giving back to that community of supporters. So we get to explore tonight fractals again, this time specifically as far as our bodies and the structures and the energy within our bodies goes. So, fractal body, fractal mind. And we're just now done with our hermetic exploration, and this is somewhat related in very interesting ways. And of course, we also couldn't do, fractalization and repeating structures in our bodies without talking about evolution. The debate about evolution still continues to rage on. Whether or not it exists as described or not is up to anyone to decide. And so we'll talk a little bit about analogous structures and whether or not they support or disprove evolution, in our opinion. So that'll be exciting too. So it should be a fun show talking about acupuncture, reflexology, some other health-related things and aspects of our body that are fractal in nature in various ways. Of course, fractal being the idea that this is a pattern and that it repeats infinitely and in various places and times. And I maybe should have said hollow fractal body, hollow fractal mind, because the hologram is actually perhaps a little bit more apt than fractal, as the hologram is, any one sectionable unit of a hologram would contain the information of every other part. And that is definitely the universe we're living in. So we could call this a holofractal universe, which if you know me, you know I like to do. I guess we do have to, of course, talk about a little bit about CERN, a little bit about some Dutch farmers, a little bit about the Georgia Guidestones. And we've talked about, you've maybe heard me talk about it in a few other places. But, the Georgia Guidestones obviously are those Guidestones down in Georgia. And they were of mysterious origin. No one knows for sure. Is it RJ or RC Christian, whatever the supposed name of the creator is not a real person. The people who actually carved it, I think we are known, but they're not telling anyone who commissioned them to do this. And then these giant slabs of rock were put up. Of course, they were aiming in the cardinal directions, and there was a hole that was drilled through to view Polaris, famously pointing out that therefore that means Polaris in relative relation to us never changes, which a flat earth people really like that fact, because it seems to prove that we're not moving, right? So that's interesting. It has all those celestial sort of coordinations and alignments, and clearly they like those types of things. And it reminds us of many of the other structures of old, and perhaps that's by accident. I don't mean by accident. Of course, it's not by accident that they did that, but perhaps it's not that meaningful that it reminds us of those things, because they very well could be mimicking an ancient culture or technology that they feel they are descended from, rather than actually being the sort of crafters of some megalithic structures like the pyramids and Stonehenge and some other places that also have similar characteristics. But nonetheless, they did have them. Whoever built them, we are not sure. Many people have posited many things. It does seem most likely that perhaps it's related to sort of Skull and Bones-esque, at the very least, type of groups of secret societies. Some people think they've just for sure they know and this is fact. And I always steer away from those type of people, because I really would love to hear all their evidence. I'm totally for that. But I'm just never for pretending like we know for sure a thing. We can get really close and we can say, you know what, all that evidence, yeah, it's got to be Skull and Bones. But even then, we're not absolutely sure. So it's always smarter, more intelligent, in my opinion, to say it seems very likely that this is probably the case. And so who knows, really, right? But what we do know is that those slabs said that they would like to contain humanity to under 500 million. We're at 7 billion something, supposedly now, maybe almost 8 billion, depending on who you talk to. So that would be maybe 6.5 to 7.5 billion people they'd have to kill to get rid of and evaporate to get down to 500 million people left on the planet. You'd also have to have a pretty solid, almost self-perpetuating infrastructure if you were part of this class of people that hoped to get down to that low of a population. I don't know what they think they're doing about that. Like, maybe they've got it. Maybe their whole CERN bullshit and their AI bullshit and all their garbage is, maybe they think it's self-perpetuating at this point. Like, and maybe it is. Maybe they have whole underground, or like we've talked about them being maybe out in the middle of the Pacific, have this giant landmass that is just like their utopia. It's like that movie where they were out in the sky up above Earth and they had all their med beds and stuff, but they wouldn't let the Earth people use them. Like, I forget what that movie's called, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, maybe it's like that. Who knows? But what we do know is it sounded pretty nefarious. It's nefarious to talk about bringing humanity down to that low of a population from the alleged high that we're at. No matter where we're at, to bring it down at all by force is, of course, mass murder. And it does seem possible that they think they've pulled that off. I mean, if you're really paying attention and you notice, there's a lot of reproductive issues and sudden death going on ever since a certain thing started taking place in the last few years. And if that continues, if you can in any way pass it down, or if you cannot pass anything down because you're sterilized essentially now, that would definitely impact, and especially if there's anywhere near the numbers they're saying, which is something like 60 to 70% of the global population. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So if that's true, they're at least a lot closer. And in a handful of years, they may be even closer still, depending on the fallout from that specific weaponry. So maybe maybe they think they're pulling it off, and maybe they thought they were done with them then. Maybe they're like, well, we've achieved our goal. Let's take out the monument, right? Or I like to posit that perhaps they managed to take this out themselves, or maneuvered is what I meant, to take this out themselves so that they could erase the motive for their crime. Clear motive, written in stone, right? So if you were to prove that this weapon was released into the population and had a hugely detrimental effect, and then you could prove who did it, and then you could prove their connection to these guidestones, then you definitely have a motive, and motive is very important in criminal court cases, right? So it's possible, too. It's also possible that someone who hates them took it out. It's possible that another warring faction in the psychopathic classes was warring with, there's warring factions in the psychopathic class, and one faction took out this faction's guidestones. What we do not know, we don't have footage of anyone planting any bombs. What we also don't have are any scorch marks or any seeming indication that traditional explosives were used. So that kind of takes out like 97% of the population as culprits. Most of us don't have access to exotic weaponry, whether it be missiles or directed energy weapons or something else we don't even understand, some kind of sonic weapon. I guess that's directed energy too. These things could be deployed, but not by you and me, not by us, right? So then it kind of leaves it up to the psychopath classes. Again, maybe warring factions, or maybe just the same people who put it up. Who knows? What is really interesting to me is literally my first thought upon hearing that it had happened at like 6 a.m. yesterday morning when I woke up, 7 a.m. or whatever it was the first thing I saw. And I was like, holy shit, like, woo, celebrate! The Psychopaths Monument has been taken down. And then the thought that came very loudly into my head said, act of God. And I'm like, I'm psychic, to whatever extent people may want to call that phenomenon. I've definitely can get messages like that, sometimes as loudly and clearly. I don't assume that they're true. It's very possible that those types of things are floating around to sort of like interject a thought to make people think certain things, right? So I always go into deeper meditation and connection if I actually want to find out who and where that came from and like if it's true or what it means or whatever. And when I did that, which is much later, I did that actually today, so it was more than 24 hours later, I finally went into that deeper connection and I was asking, like, so is it an act of God actually? I was asking this now of my guides who I know for sure, because I don't know who or what said that first act of God thing to my psychic mind. So I went in and asked them, is it an act of God? And what I got back was not yes, but it wasn't of God. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, was it lightning? And it was like, yes, but it wasn't lightning like you think. And I was like, well, what other lightning could there be? And then I started thinking, they can do so much with the weather. They can do so much with exotic weaponry what if they can mimic lightning? And they were like, ding, 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 ding. So I was like, ah. So it both could have been, quote unquote, an act of God demolished by what we would call lightning, but also intentional and directed. That's a fascinating little nugget for you to chew on if you like it. I don't actually care in the end. I know you hear me say that a lot. Like, I don't care about most things. I find things fascinating. I love to think about them. I'm very curious. And in the end, I'm like pretty unattached to what, it doesn't matter to me. If God took it out, good job, God. If they did it to themselves so that we would all talk about it again for some time, so I mean, maybe they're loosh harvesting off that. I never got emotional about it, so they weren't loosh harvesting off me. I think most of you out there who listen to this show also are like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, something happened and we'll figure it out as much as we can, and it still won't matter. Like, it's just not that important. So no loosh harvesting here. Could have been so many different things. Seems to me to be a act of God directed by them, which is another, it's so interesting. Remember not that long ago, God, was it like last year or the year before? There was this year where suddenly everyone was getting struck by lightning all around the world. There was just like lightning deaths just like went up, like drastically, noticeably to me who I'm never looking at lightning deaths, like not important to me. Huge spike in lightning deaths, and I was like, what is up with this? And I never considered at that time, like, I wonder if they're practicing, like maybe they've developed this technique and this is like their practice to see like how precise can we like take out specific people in specific places. It's a crazy thought, I know, but I think it's possible. So yeah, directed energy and directed lightning are very, very different things, but there's a lot of similarity there, and it just makes me wonder. And then, yeah, the most telling part is that they instantly went in and demolished it. It wasn't actually that instant. I will say from 3 a.m. their time to like noon their time, so almost 12 hours later, they got the demolition crew in, and that's not hard to do. Like, it is not hard to, especially if you're that rich and well connected, to bring in a demolition crew is really easy to do. It's really easy to make the call too, right? That's your land, or if it's your thing that you own or whatever, to be like, yeah, take it out. I mean, it's ruined now. So I'm not that, I don't really care about that either. I'm like, that's not that surprising. It's much more telling when they're covering up like shooting scenes by demolishing schools, for example. That's way more intriguing to me, interesting, shows more clear of a nefarious purpose than this. It's possible for us to say like, well, maybe they're trying to hide the evidence, and that's very likely, and that could be, and it could also just be that they're like, I don't know if I can get rid of it, like it's broken now. Like, I could see both easily as well. So that's my ideas about the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know. I'm not going to know. Those are my best guesses so far. It's like a day since it happened, so huge changes could be happening. Raquel Toros is in the YouTube chat, says maybe they want to shift from a soft needle reset to a hard brutal reset, which is worrisome. Yeah, I was thinking this too, right? Like, it could be just the sign that they needed to give to each other that like, cool, we've got it. We've nailed it. Everything's in place. Like, final stage, go. I mentioned last night on Interverse, or on Vibrant with Chance on his Interverse channel, he had me as a guest, that there was all those resignations yesterday as well, which was very strange. Like, all of a sudden, yesterday and the day before, I mean, there's like 30, especially in European countries, but also around the world, high level cabinet and actual leaders like Boris, what's his fucking England or whatever, stepping down suddenly. And there's always a reason. They're always like, oh, well, he had all this like issues and problem, whatever. Like, well, so does every other politician, and they're not stepping down. His resignation was called for like more than a year, and he's just now doing it. Like, what changed that day is what I'm wondering. And he had just appointed some guy that looked super creepy and nefarious, and like, shit is weird. So around the world, we had this like series of resignations, which also, like Raquel was saying, could be, part of this sort of like, all right, we're in the final phase, let's go. And they've been signaling that, they've been saying like, oh, you guys get ready for the next pandemic. And we're like, yay! Can't wait to watch more stupid people do more stupid things while I don't do stupid things. That'll be great for all of us. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to keep saying that should be the name of the show. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, though, because I have said 10 billion times, and I'll say 10 billion more, am perfectly, beautifully happy in my soul and my heart, and I could die right now, and I would be fine. Not too concerned about to eat, drink, and be merry, and hang out with my chickens. Dakota in the Rockfin chat says, what are the chances they're lying about the current population number? I feel like it's much less than 7 billion. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Much, 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 much less, perhaps. Yeah, no loosh here. We're all dancing like Ewoks after the Death Star blew up, Alex says. But yeah, I like to say recently, too, like, fuck a great reset. We're on a great rebirth. And they can't stop us from doing that. So they can go their little dark-ass Great Reset route and just, like, fuck themselves into oblivion. And we'll just still be living here as beautiful people of the land. Beautiful humans, I should say, of the land. Gotta keep being happy, centered, and well as often as possible. And not lying about it. You know, if you have some depression and anger and whatever, that's cool. I do, too, sometimes. And we have to let that out. But otherwise, we want to keep ourselves healthy and well in every way, which reminds me, I have a new class up. It's on Thinkific. It's free. So I have a bunch of paid classes on all sorts of things, meditating, chakras, and how to work with them, tarot, psycho-spiritual protection. I'm going to do a lot more. But today I also put up a short mantra class. And for anybody who's a supporter over on Rockfin, the link is actually right below you with a code to get ways to see all of the classes that I offer. Take the free one if you want, get a paid one if you want as well, up to you. And if you are a supporter, you've got that little coupon code below you that you can use to get a discount. So that's up and moving. I feel like there's something else I said I was going to talk about, but I don't remember what it was. But the other announcement I want to make, especially before we cut off the feed on YouTube, Twitch a week ago, but you know how things go with me. Any moment now, Audible should approve the final audio and start distributing it to anybody who wants to go on Audible and get the audiobook for my first novel, Sine Curve of Aeons, Vitalis. It is done. It is submitted. It just has to get their final little click and get it approved and released. So excited about it. Such high quality, such a really beautiful book. So fun. It's such a fun book to read and experience, and you don't even have to read it now. You can listen to it. So especially all you audio listeners out there who are podcast only for Rogueways and Middle Path, I'm talking to you. You already know you like to listen to things, so there's no reason for you not to go grab it. But it's not quite done. It's not quite ready yet, so it's coming. It's coming. Just gotta hype it a little bit. Oh, they're saying the stream is frozen, so hopefully it comes right back. And hopefully it's still on the other channels. You know how things go. Refresh if you can. So yeah, I hope you guys all hop over to Rockfin. We're going to jump into the show now. Oh, I think I was going to maybe talk about CERN, but I'm like, you know what? We've talked about CERN 10 billion times. We'll do that on another episode. I do want to say there was a misconception with many people. We may remember that it's actually restarted some time ago, months ago this year, but it was just that on Monday or Tuesday was it? They were reaching all new heights, all new levels of CERN energy. So they were going faster than they ever had before. So it wasn't really that they were starting back up again. It was that they were doing that stuff again. Which is whatever. Again, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, and some people have posited, like, is CERN even real? Is CERN even happening? And then I guess Emily Moyer has this idea, and maybe she got it, she seems to have borrowed it from someone, so she linked to them, and I don't know who it is, so I'm sorry whoever's idea this originally was. It also doesn't really matter because the world is just ideas, and we all pick them up and run with them for the time that we do. So anyway, her idea is that it's possible that CERN is actually ancient technology, that we discovered it and then we had to pretend that we built it, and that we just watch it turn on because we actually have no control over it at all. And I love that idea so much, especially because it like takes the fear out of it for me, because then it's like, well, then it's been going forever and like, who cares anyways? It also seems to have had really no effect on the world. You may know my ideas about Mandela effect, and they don't have much to do with CERN. They have a lot more to do with AI that can very, very simply change every electronic record that the internet is connected to, which is most of them, in a moment. And do lots of experiments with that. So I do want to show you the site. As always, Rogue Soul Services is here at rogueways.org. You can see all the stuff. You can connect with me and just email me and send me a note, especially of love and support, which are so fun to get. I know I said something on Tinfoil Hat the last time I was on, and another time I was on, I think. Anyway, I was saying, we were talking about how few people give the love and how more people will share the hate. And how it seems to be that way in reviews and all sorts of things. And maybe because of that, a lot of you have been sending me a lot more love lately, and I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for sharing your hellos and your stories and all the stuff. It's very nice. I also have powerful tools like orgone, medicine bags, crystal and stone jewelry that I'm guided to make for people, and powerful energetic tools. You can read the testimonials for the spiritual support that I offer people. Those can be really, really fun, especially if you're considering, I don't know, I'm not really sure. You can just read about it and see if it's right for you. And of course, I link here to the courses on Thinkific. So if you just remember rogueways.org, you can get to the Thinkific courses from this front page as well. You can go to spiritual support link and book any of the offerings that I give to people. I do sound tuning and alignment. Now we're doing this. Okay, it's working again. Spiritual guidance sessions. This is where we can tap in and get some messages from your guides and allies, straight from them to you. Some energy, some blessings, and all kinds of things can come through in a guidance session. We can do a tarot reading, very powerful, beautiful tarot reading. We can just talk, do a coaching and talk session, especially if you want to learn any of the things that I do, or just talk. Healing ceremony and session is a bigger commitment that really is for people who are feeling like they need to go deeper, need to heal or release something pretty dark or heavy, or something like that. I do blessings for people, the sound healings, and all kinds of stuff. I also still consult about education, homeschooling, and other things. I am still a master teacher and board certified, and I also offer writing instruction and support. So if you want to do anything with your writing, actually, I can help you with that. And I do I Ching readings. So if that wasn't enough for you, you can get any of that here, and just book it right through the site. Super easy. So, all right, we're going to get into the show now, and that means I'm going to say goodbye to all our other channels. So if you are there on YouTube, or Twitter, or Twitch, or any of the places, click the link below you, jump over to Rockfin, sign up, support the show, and get all that other content. And otherwise, we will see you next time. Oh, and if you're an audio listener out there, you can get the rest of the audio every time, either by doing rogue.locals.com or Apple Podcast subscriptions for Rogue Ways. So there's one more option for you. All right, we'll see you guys later.